What is a syllogism? This topic can be discussed in detail. So there are several details I'm going to leave out of this video, but bear with me here because that's going to be better because in the future videos there'll be a lot more to talk about and I can cover it in detail. But what is a syllogism? In the Greek word for syllogism, syllogism-an, it basically translates out to make an inference. So from this you have several ideas in which you could possibly infer something from something else. Several different argument forms and styles. That's fine. Aristotle gives us a few: the inductive syllogism, dialectical, the demonstrative, which is also called the scientific. He lays them out in posterior analytics, prior analytics, the topics, and so on. But from that alone, we can say that Aristotle is using the term syllogism to denote any argument. But while that is fine, one, that doesn't really fit with our current view of what a syllogism is based off of a basic logic textbook. Two, Aristotle talks about a distinction between syllogism and induction, and he does it in the rhetoric. And several commentators followed, like John of Salisbury, and basically the syllogism is different from the induction in that the syllogism is used to persuade someone who already has knowledge of a science, while the induction is used to persuade someone who does not have the knowledge of the science. Now, the reason why we can give easily. So, induction, what you are doing is you're going from the particular to the universal. Now, relying on some sources of English tradition of logic, let's say we'll go temporarily into the 1800s and the early 1900s. Mills and Alexander Bain and so on. So the idea here is that I have some phenomena, some observations in particular cases. And I'm looking at the several different cases and how they fit together. I also look at this possible cause, which would yield the general, the universal from it. And by the way, the term universal, just to give a quick idea of it, it does not necessarily mean everything from but every member of a class or everything which I am observing, everything I know. Or it could also mean from a ratio of the general idea. Now, if you look at the term genera, genus versus general, you could see how genera, general fit together. I do not know this for sure. It could be that there might be a linguistic influence. Put it in the comments if you think that I might be right on it, or I could be wrong. It's okay to be wrong on that. It's just a intuitive guess. So, the universal is basically just a general idea. When we say that something is predicated of many, of all, and so on, that links to the idea of within a class of things that something is predicated of some, of all, of many, of none, whatever. Um, so when you're looking at the universal, you have to keep that in mind. And the induction looks at how all these things that in which you are observing has a cause which promotes this universal. Now, the syllogism or deduction, you are dealing with someone who already has the facts, who already has the knowledge, enough to say that this universal we agree on, this category right here. So you take this universal, the rule already haven't been defined, established. You introduce a middle term. This middle term proves then that from this universal that something necessarily follows in the conclusion. So to have a syllogism, you need the general idea. You need the middle term, which is the proof. St. John of Damascus talks about, in this way too, by the way, in his Fountains of Knowledge, the conclusion, which necessarily follows. So you need the necessary too. Now, the science or scientific idea and the Aristotelian idea of science is that you have knowledge of the principles of the elements, the universal, the necessary. And so you can kind of see right here how it all connects. So a syllogism also has to ideally be 3 propositions. You have the premise 1, the major premise, premise 2, minor premise, premise 3, the conclusion, or the conclusion, which is the proposition from these premises that follows. Then here you have it. The syllogism can be either the general view of an argument, the general argument term in its ancient context, but it is also the syllogism as we are aware of today, the general following to a necessary conclusion. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and so on.